In a long career of 33 years as a cop, most of them as a commanding officer, I learned some important things. I'd like to tell you about a couple of them. Police take an oath to support and defend the Constitution. No oath I've ever taken says only some sentences in the Constitution, only some of its amendments. No oath I've ever seen reads, support and defend the Constitution except for the Second Amendment. Never seen an oath like that. The oath I took was to support and defend the entire Constitution. All right. Here's where I'm going. Political police chiefs in our mega cities appointed by anti-gun mayors should think about that when they trash our right to keep and bear arms and defend ourselves. Well, now the Supreme Court has spoken clearly, and it's time for government officials, including big city police bosses, to get on board and aggressively support the Second Amendment with the same urgency as any other right. Some public officials, like in Washington, D.C. and Chicago, have taken the position, how arrogant, they've taken the position, the hell with the Supreme Court. No matter what the Supreme Court said, they will erect as many barriers as possible to frustrate your right to keep and bear arms and defend yourself. Remember, those giant city police chiefs keep guns at home for personal defense. Many of them have armed drivers. At any hint of unusual danger, they have special details to protect their homes. All fine and proper, but what about you and me? Oddly, these same officials champion policies that spawn more and more violent crime. The entire way of life in our high-crime cities has been created and managed and guided by the mayors and officials running those places. And they own the result. A depressing sea of public housing, massive crowding and congestion, generations of welfare, revolving door justice, corruption. In Washington, D.C., for example, about 1 murderer in 10 has previously been convicted of killing somebody. Read your paper. When a violent criminal is caught, it will usually turn out that he was on early release, and if he had served his previous sentence, he'd have been in prison on the day of the new crime. Now, they need a scapegoat to account for all this, so who gets blamed? Your neighborhood gun store gets blamed. Your local gun show gets blamed. Your Second Amendment gets blamed. And then there's the border. We've talked a lot about it today. These same elitists that have screwed up our big cities, they beat the tom-tom for this bizarre open border scheme. Yes, there are some decent people coming over here to work, and immigration policy is not NRA's portfolio. But this open borders business is also resulting in a flood of criminals. Those criminals are invading homes and property and killing and injuring people. And you know who gets blamed? Yep, that scapegoat is needed again. So we get blamed when drug cartels slaughter people in Mexico, gun dealers and gun shows and gun owners get blamed, NRA gets blamed, our rights are blamed and threatened, and that makes this our business. And then, what a surprise. Turns out that the very public officials that lie about gun dealers and gun shows are arming the Mexican dope gangs. Those same officials are themselves sending guns to Mexico to arm the dope gangs. Why? Who knows? Some suspect it's to produce and inflate phony data about U.S. guns and Mexican crime to falsely blame it on us. the massive crime wave south of the border is spreading north. The big criminal gangs are worming their way through our cities and even into rural areas. More and more people at risk. Serious business. The threat is real. The news is full of stories about helpless people being attacked by a wide range of thugs. Don't let anyone tell you that your hometown gun store or gun show or your Second Amendment is to blame. Many of the most vicious of the drug cartels, people like the Zetas, are former Mexican and Latin American police and military. They already have guns and training, some of it supplied by our own government through various foreign assistance programs. Look at this in the Washington Times. This is the quote, according to United States and Mexican officials, the Zetas have reached across the Mexican border into Central America for new recruits, including members of Los Cabiles, an elite special operations force of the Guatemalan military trained in jungle warfare and counterinsurgency tactics. So these military people from Mexico and Guatemala and other places are joining the drug cartels. The point is that with $20 billion and widespread support from factions in the military and police in Mexico, as well as active support from other Latin American special forces, even support from shocking U.S. government schemes, passing thousands of guns across the border, the dope cartels don't need to get a couple of rifles from a Texas gun show or 2 or 3 handguns from an Arizona gun store. They can buy access to commercial quantities of guns in Mexico and all over the world. Your rights are not to blame. Now, these same elitists that have designed this broken system claim you don't need a gun because you aren't competent enough to defend yourself. The police will protect you. Well, after a long career in law enforcement, I know that's nonsense. Police do many valuable things. We try hard to lock up criminals. Police risk their lives for us. But once a criminal picks you as a target, the police won't know till it's over, till you crawl to the phone and call dispatch, or until your neighbor finds your battered body. The police won't always be there, but 2 people will be, you and the crook. Only you will have any real possibility of protecting you. These vicious crimes take only minutes. There's usually no time to call the police, no time for police radio dispatch to find an available officer, no time for the officer to find your address and get to you. Only you, all alone. My friends, alone and defenseless is not a strategy to stake your life on. For 140 years and counting, the NRA has empowered Americans not only by defending their rights, but by ensuring through training and great programs that they can exercise those rights safely and effectively. When grim silhouettes knock at a woman's door in the dead of night, firearms training gives her confidence. When drug smugglers run unchecked across the border and threaten our homes, marksmanship training gives us protection. When faced with all of life's dangers, the Second Amendment is our best hope. Never let arrogant officials responsible for the border disaster blame your gun rights for their failures. Never let politicians themselves protected by armed guards leave you alone and defenseless. Never let your most fundamental freedom, your right to protect yourself and your family, be without its fiercest and most effective defender. Stand strong with your NRA to safeguard your life, your family, your freedom, today and always.